Welcome to Different Gravy, not just another Sheffield Wednesday podcast. I'm one of the hosts, Richard Miller, and my co-host, safe in the knowledge that there's another podcast recording penciled in for a couple of days' time, is planning on barely even turning up for this one, Dr. Luke Gledall. How are you doing today, Luke?
Hey, I'm good. Oh, that's a pertinent intro.
What does it matter? We've got another go in a few days' time, eh? What does it?
Yeah.
Hopefully it won't come across too much in my voice, but having dodged and weaved and avoided the dreaded vid for 2 years or more, I did test positive on Tuesday. So not the worst of cases, but it's a bit in my nose, it's a bit in my throat. I might have to hit mute and cough occasionally, but just sort of flagging that up at this intro. But you're all right, Luke. You're free from viral load as far as you're aware.
As far as I'm aware, yeah. Just I'm a bit sniffy as well. Going to be honest, but no second dose of COVID for Luke Gledall as it stands.
I've got to say, not to blow my own trumpet, but to one of the biggest, boldest lines I've ever seen on one of those tests. Really, on Tuesday, I was chalking up a big, fat elephant leg of viral load. It was something else. Not one of your little thin. Oh, is that positive or not? No, both positive. That's what's coming across loud and clear.
In a recent week where I think I learned that Conor McGregor proclaimed himself to be the strongest vertical puncher, Rich has come in and said he's got the strongest line recognized on a lateral flow test. Strange claims all around.
Thickest, chunkiest viral load going.
Oh, in true different gravy fashion, should we move on to some more questionable or less questionable stuff?
Let's do that.
Breaking hoo-hoos.
That's a bit weedy, that, but there we go. That's where we're at.
You can fix in post.
Yeah, or not bother and just put it in as this. As we said, we've got another go in a couple of days' time, so who gives a fig? But in terms of not a heavy news week, I think we've all had a little question in our minds throughout the week, having seen him go off injured, as to will Barry Bannan make it? Will he? How injured was he? Are there mind games at play? And that has sort of added up to a round of where is Bazzy on the training ground photos. Beautiful. As we intrepidly scour the scenes of Lee Gregory on a beach, Sam Hutchinson in a deck chair. Is there a little ginger terrier in the background? No, there's not. No, keep looking. You will still not find Barry Bannan. So, just in terms of that, we know he made it to the squad. Do you think that was a good move from the club not to have him included on the training ground videos? Or images and things like that. Keep Sunderland on their toes.
I thought it's hilarious, like people coming out and saying, "Oh, we're playing mind games." I'm like, I don't know, not really. I don't know if Darren Moore doesn't seem too concerned with mind games.
No,
which I think is a nice thing about the gentleman, personally. But I mean, it kept us all guessing.
It did.
And maybe it kept Sunderland a little bit guessing, But who knows? I don't know. It didn't seem to. I don't know if that really makes any difference.
No. Yeah, well, we don't want to step on the toes of the match coverage too much, but yeah, it wasn't a hugely impactful evening for wee Baz. The other thing just to note in terms of the kind of social media side of things, there is a video of Lee Gregory sat having a massive cup of tea watching his goals back in a very kind of I don't know, what would you describe? I don't want to say lackluster, but he's not giving it much is he?
Yeah, and I also want to say lackadaisical, but again, I don't really want to step on the toes of the match recovering a bit later. It's so nonplussed, matter of fact.
Yeah, he's very casually just watching, going, "Oh yeah, that one scored that one. That was a good one. Oh yeah, I remember that one." He did. I think the effort against MK Dons, he said, is the furthest out he's ever scored a goal from. So that was interesting because he scored a couple from distance for us. That similar sort of distance. He's actually looked quite dangerous in terms of having early flash strikes. Maybe not the best quality of strike, but catching out a goalkeeper. The only thing just to note as well in passing, feeds into the game itself. Only one of the assists came from Johnson, and a fair old few came from Jack Hunt, who he described as his hot tub buddy. And I would like to explore that at some point in another video. Hunt and Gregor's in the hot tub, presumably having nice big cups of tea.
Nice big cups of tea, some bants, and PG tips in the hot tub.
Yeah.
Perhaps. That was funny because that was I think the Wednesday week noticed who is this hot tub. They asked that question, who is this hot tub buddy, the other week after he scored the hat trick, because that was signed on his match ball. I love the we all do the kind of zoom in. Yes. We can't quite do it to the sheer level of Blade Runner style. We're not at that level of
spin it round.
Yeah, exactly. So they're asking that, but it's also another time we've had some fun comments on a hat trick ball, probably since Jordan Rhodes scored his hat trick, and Massimo Longo proclaimed to be the Undertaker.
Or was he calling him the Undertaker?
Can't remember. They're coming about him being back from the dead. I think that was it.
Yeah, because the Undertaker's big thing is he looks like he's done, and then he just sort of ominously sits up. The reveal of the video as it stands is that he's drinking out of his own Lee Gregory "He's Our Number 9" mug, which presumably is a bit of merch you can now get in the club shop, which is quite nimble work from the commercial department if they've already got a mug on sale, because that's not been the chant for that long, or it's certainly not been in the zeitgeist for that long. So good on them. We may be losing $500,000. That's another bit of news we should have covered, really. The accounts are
True.
We're losing lots of money, but maybe not as much money as other people, and maybe not as much money as before. But yeah, $500,000 to the tune of $500,000 a week, isn't it? Is what the club is leaking. This particular boat is leaking. But maybe they're going to vote all the FFP stuff down because of COVID, or give themselves lots of leeway. And
well, it was wasn't there a fun thing of saying that I think clubs could claim for basically kind of a write-off for kind of 3 seasons of about, was it something like $5 million a season or something along those lines, or $2.5 million a season?
Okay.
And it's also a really fun moment with somebody in the comments completely misunderstanding that, saying teams can get this much money back, and it's like, no, you can allow that.
You can dope your accounts to that.
You can dope your accounts to cover that. You don't get the free monies.
Free monies. So shall we do this? Shall we dive in?
Yeah, we really should, shouldn't we, Rich?
Because
that's why we do the podcast, to talk about these things.
It's what we love to do. Talk about this football team.
Yeah.
I don't know if you know this, Luke. They didn't mention it on Sky, which is strange, but a record attendance for a semi-final playoff.
Yeah. And then I think over the 2 legs, it's probably going to beat the whole record, isn't it, in the EFL playoffs? Because it's something like 73,000 or something.
Yeah, I think they were claiming 40-something, 43 or so yesterday. I'm just trying to see an actual figure now, which is annoying. I don't seem to be able to call it up immediately, which is not very nice. Yeah. Anyway, I'll have a look. But I think they were talking about 43,000 or thereabouts.
43,000, and then probably with a sellout Hillsborough as well. Hillsborough sold out as well. It's looking like for the entirety of that it's going to be a record attendance across the two semis. I think
pretty splendid stuff. Two very well supported teams. Probably teams that would feel they're maybe a bit beyond this league itself. It's a rip-roaring atmosphere. Barry Bannon made it. He made it. There was clips of him bounding down the stairs early doors when the team arrived. And the big team news, really, outside of Bannon making it, was Harley Dean got the nod in the middle of the defence, and I think probably the biggest call, and one that we're probably going to talk about in detail, maybe several times. Jack Hunt dropped for Liam Palmer at right wing back. Which I can understand the thinking behind it. Liam Palmer's not played much right wing back this season at all.
No,
it's been mostly Hunt's job, and he's alternated with generally a more attacking option. He's been the defensive one of the duo, and then it's been Mendes-Lang or Theo Corbeau before Mendes-Lang really sort of established himself. So yeah, it's not been somewhere we've seen Palmer play that much, and the last time he played there didn't have the best of games. So an interesting choice, but I think probably is the best defender out of all the options we have there. So yeah, it kicked off. My first note was 3 minutes in, charming in Netflix, but dirty on a Friday night. Luke O'Neill rattles into Bannon at the first opportunity and gives away a foul. They were clearly ready to just see how vulnerable Bannon might be in the early going. And I made no bones about it. O'Neill, I think, is one of those sort of players that does. There's a lot of needle. There's a bit of bite to his play, and as at the very first time of asking, he battered into Bannon, and on another day could have easily got a yellow card for him, and it was a pretty blatant foul. But yeah, it did make me laugh because he was someone that we liked. We found him a rather charming fellow in the documentary, the Netflix doc. And then Gregory. We did manage to get the ball to Gregory from that set piece. That was a bit of a shout early doors. I thought it was putting me in a fairly hopeful mood how well that first set piece went. Interesting. So I've got notes for the first 5 minutes and then nothing for about half an hour.
I was going to ask Rich in the second minute, do you think we should have got a corner? Because I remember there was a played in. I'm going to be honest, my notes are not the best for this game.
Was that a tackle on Gregory, or is that a separate incident?
No, that was a chance we had, and I thought it was deflected wide, but apparently it wasn't a corner. Apparently it was just a goal kick, so that was kind of strange. Yeah. Third minute, I also noticed Stewart funded one straight at BPF.
Oh yeah.
Hutch taken out of it from a long punt forward. Just as a general kind of a side note, kind of coming into the build of this, just want to say a little bit about the kind of build-up and some of the fun kind of theatrics within the tunnel.
Please, yeah.
I was loving Hutch's confident swagger. I was just saying he fucking loves these events, doesn't he? Which maybe is a fun little kind of segue to things going on. So man, I'm nervy. I find it interesting when we get the footage of players because you get to see just how tall and athletic these players are.
Yeah.
But I really had no kind of great concept that Mr. Bailey's rather strapping chap.
Oh yes.
He's built.
He's full. He's thick, isn't he? And he's also 6. He's a thick boy.
Need some extra effort
6'3", 6'3", 6'4", something like that, isn't he? He's a big chap.
Do you need some extra effort to suck down that milkshake, don't you, Rich? Give yourself a headache before the brain freeze, you know? Anyway, while we're talking about this, I mean, I know he's formerly of this parish. We remember him very, very fondly from 10 years ago.
Yes.
So obviously, Danny Bart's there. Danny Bart is fucking massive.
Mm.
He is huge. And
Yes.
there's also a fun thing, just coming into the confidence and the swaggery we've generally had coming into this, and the love that we have for Lee Gregory and his strong shithouse. I made a note saying, I hope Lee Gregory rags Bart around, but maybe this is a similar phrase to, I hope this 4-year-old child shows his fire engine motion ride who's boss. By the way, Rich, because of that comment, I want to ask, can we just to completely aside here, what are those little kind of toy rides called outside of like supermarkets? You know, you put a quid in and the kid goes on for like 4 minutes and it like just rotates around very slowly. I thought there'd be a name for that, you know?
Yeah. Expectation trainers. Life is disappointing. Here's a small showing of just how it's got lights, it talks. Oh, it just sort of does this little slight jiggly motion for quite a bit longer than you'd really want it to.
Wee little jiggly motion.
Jiggly.
Yeah, so going on from there, I can pretty much... So when did you say you had notes coming back into
well,
this?
I've just got the 5th minute. So my first note is O'Neill's foul.
Yeah.
Then we had the set piece where I actually thought maybe there was a shout for Gregory getting fouled. I thought the player went through the back of him to clear the ball. But even Gregory didn't seem to claim for that, so maybe it was just me. And then the next note I have was Patrick Roberts getting his shot away as he kind of ran across the front of the box, and I'm wondering if that might be. I don't remember Stewart's shot, but I'm wondering if it might be the same moment. But that was about the 5th minute.
Okay, I'll carry on. You come and give me a little nudge when you want to come back. Come join the action. Okay. You jester for me from beyond the ropes. Is that what they do in wrestling for the tag team?
Yes.
You tell me, Rich. You've seen all the wrestling there is.
Seeing as we're on Teams, I can. If this sounds slightly different, by the way, folks, Zoom has those absolute buggers at Zoom have decided they want people to actually pay for their product. So
how dare they?
We're seeking a new home. But I can actually raise my hand. I don't know if you can see that, Luke.
I can see you raise your hand, yeah. I'm going to ignore it, but... Please, sir. 9th minute. Hutch blocks for a corner of a decent block. The resulting causes a worrisome string of events, but somehow we survive. There was a lot of that. There's a lot of like corners that look like they were going to kind of trouble us, but we seem to have enough kind of defensive fortitude to survive those corners. The first 12 minutes we really under the cosh. We seemed to get a little break from a little respite, but then I think as soon as I made that note, I think it was back to us weathering the storm from Sunderland here.
Yeah.
17th minute, Sunderland had a free kick. It wasn't much to worry us. Put back into the mix. Stewart seems to complain about Dean tugging his shirts. Bit of a lame appeal, honestly, I must say.
Yeah. Yeah, I just think it's sort of par for the course now, isn't it? Like, the defenders seem to get away with a lot of shirt tugging at set pieces. It seems to just be the norm. And strikers do it to defenders as well. It swings and roundabouts is what it is, Luke.
Fucking swings and roundabouts. 24th minutes. We had a stray header at the backstick from Gregory from a palm across. It was nice. It was on target, but it was pretty easy for Patterson, the Mackham stopper.
The like 7-year-old child that they have, the gangly 7-year-old child that they have in goal.
That's the one. Yeah.
Ridiculously young. Anthony Patterson.
29 minutes.
He won, but I don't believe it.
You don't believe it. You think he's got some kind of reverse Nigerian birth certificate? He
looks younger than Little Hunt does. Wow. Although he's got a nice big sleeve tattoo, so there you go. I am a grown-up. I'm a big grown-up man. Look, I've got a tattoo above me arm. How could I do that if I wasn't a nice big grown-up?
So you're suggesting it's a series of children on top of each other in a big overcoat. That's what you're saying.
I wasn't, but I love the image of that. That's a real treat.
29th minute. I thought Luongo was fouled, but apparently not. 30th minute. Gregory took it down from a long point from Bailey Peacock Farrell, and I thought it was a very soft free kick given against us. Maybe you can see a little bit of a theme kind of shining through some of my notes here. I thought there was a lot of protection Sunderland had, and there seemed to be a lot of 50-50s, which they won, and a lot of soft 50-50s, which we lost and would not get at all.
Yeah. Well, my next note is another case in point, is when Palmer, around the 33rd minute, when Palmer made the interception, which was really good. It was brave, kind of front ending that he was doing. It was really nice to see. He sort of won the ball just inside our half, went on a run, and just seemed to get absolutely cleared out by their defender. He did get the cross away, but it certainly the sort of thing that you'd normally see the ref pull back and give a foul for, because he just got clattered afterwards as soon as he'd made contact, and the ref didn't even look at it.
That's interesting. I don't think you're incorrect. At the time, I thought it was a bit of a... I thought it was a little bit 50-50ish, because, I mean, he got the cross off beforehand.
But you still... It doesn't mean like, oh, you've got a crossway, so carte blanche for me just to smash you then. That's good.
Yeah, no, that's a very, very good point. Yeah. My note with that, I mean, like Palmer, he busted a lung to kind of intercept that ball and rip down the right. I thought it was a decentish cross he got in, but it was a bit too long for Berahino. Yeah, and that's the bit you've mentioned with that foul. 35th minute, Tame shot wide by some Mackham chap. I'm not sure I find a lot of their players very identical.
Yeah.
Looking. I mean, they've got a lot of talented players in that midfield, I must say. But so many occasions I could not distinguish who was who, I will be honest.
No, I think that's fair enough. I think there's also quite a lot of rotation and moving around as well.
Interchangeable, yeah. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of positives to be said about Sunderland's side, I must say. Yeah, I don't know. I just, we can get onto it, but it worried about Wednesday's impact in this game, honestly. So I thought that was a pretty tame shot wide they had. It looked worrying from the angle, but then he skewed it massively, I must say.
Yeah.
37th minute, Luongo was caught by Pritchard. Gets a very mild telling off. The resulting free kick goes out to the right for some good overlap, ending up in a Palmer cross, but Gregory nips ahead of his man, but he toes it pretty fairly tamely. I must say that was a little bit disappointing.
It was sort of neither one nor the other, the touch, was it? It sort of looked like he wanted to control it, but also thought about having a first time shot, and he kind of first time controlled it straight out of play. It wasn't his best effort.
Probably more going back to that theme of us getting nothing in terms of free kicks pretty much for the vast majority of this game. 39th minute, they did a pretty kind of regular cross that was kind of deep from the right. Yeah. It looked to be kind of quite bread and butter. It looked to be going out. Peacock Farrell kind of had a bit of a moment, wasn't entirely sure, so he awkwardly kind of touched it over. They had a corner. Byers got thumped from a challenge. Oh, yeah. And I don't know why it was a free kick. Then he gave it back as a drop ball to Sunderland, I believe. Why?
Because he didn't stop it for a free kick. He stopped it because it was a head injury. So, yeah.
But it was a free kick, though, looking back from the high. I mean, we have the benefit.
Awful. It was a horrible.
We have the benefit of, watching the action back and the highlights. And now, obviously, this is on Sky, so we get, more than the one angle that we would from an iFollow approach. But yeah, it was a free kick.
We also, around that same time, Gregory got a bloody nose. And I don't know that we ever saw that happen, but presumably that was another violent bit of conduct by them that went completely unnoticed and uncommented on by the referee. They were allowed to be very physical with us. As you said, I think protected. But the ref protecting them is a fair way. He didn't protect us at all. and he protected them massively.
Yeah.
Their defenders got every went their way. I mean, we've seen this before with Gregory, but it was happening to Berahino as well. Berahino get pushed and shoved around, and when Berahino was strong himself, it was given as a foul.
That was the situation in my next note. I'll be honest, Rich. So the 41st minute, Phil Berahino was fouled. He was getting ragged out on going out to the byline. Nothing was given. The play just kept going. And I think in the heat of the moment, that's when Luongo fouled. Yes. Well, there should have been a foul on Berahino before that. That was a worrying free kick, but Bailey punched it out, and we managed to fend them back. 43rd minute, that's the point I've made the comment about Gregory. Gregory looking like Rick Malenbottom with a tampon up his nose. And then I think that's all the notes are until, I felt very much like I was going to kind of cap off the half of football by saying that we've done a very, very stern job of weathering the storm and defending this, apart from what happened at the 45th minute. Yeah. And
you could argue maybe part of that was there's maybe a bit of the team relaxing a bit and kind of thinking like, great, it's nearly half time, because we were caught a bit out of it's. This pivots on a mistake. We'll cover that, but it's also the whole team was kind of a bit out of shape. We had two of our three centre backs in their half. Hutch was the last man. I can't imagine that was ever supposed to be the plan, that Hutch would be the last man back. It's also, I was a bit disappointed how meekly Berahino went for the header. I thought it was a decent cross, and he was in front of his man, but he just seemed to be quite content to just be there and let the defender head it away. Really a pretty disappointing showing, I would say, from Berahino overall this game. Although he had a hard task, the two strikers had to work very, very hard to get anything, and the ref was not helping them. But needless to say, it's a clearance. It's a long clearance over the top of our defence. We were overcommitted, as we mentioned, and that meant that Dean and Story were both in their half. So the big moment fell to Hutch. He had two choices: go and make a big clearance, kind of hit the back of the stand, smash it over the dugouts, and it's done, or play it back to Bailey Peacock-Farrell. And he kind of looked like he was headed to do the clearance, and then doubted himself. I think he doubted he was going to get there quick enough. Yeah. So ended up trying to turn round to play the ball to Bailey Peacock-Farrell. He runs round the ball slowly in this big, arduous circle. And Stewart's he's strong and quick and decisive, and he just nips in, and then he's racing away. Hutch can't catch him. He's never been that quick, and he's certainly not that quick anymore. Stewart's one-on-one with Bailey Peacock-Farrell. Bailey actually does a pretty nice job staying big, staying up on his feet. He does save the initial shot, but unfortunately for him, it kind of bobbles kindly for Stewart, and he's still on his toes and races in and sort of scores the tap in with his left at a tight angle. A sucker punch, really. As you say, it'd been a half well managed, maybe not the most scintillating or inspiring half of football, but we'd gone to a cauldron and quietened them down, and probably second half they would have been increasingly frustrated, but for that one mistake that puts them in the lead and gives them the ascendancy. Any further thoughts?
No, it's just I'd think about Shakira's Underneath Your Clothes. There's an endless story. You can just read everything that's happening in Hutchinson's head in that moment, in his turning circle. Yeah. It's just like a narrative that you can read through his body language. Yeah. And it's really sad. It's really depressing. I'm sure he's absolutely mortified. They had footage of him kind of afterwards, and I think I made a note about something a bit. Yeah. Hutch looks like a fox that has somehow shat himself and said fox is wearing just dungarees.
he goes on. I mean, it's like it's a midlife crisis in it being acted out physically in front of you in moments. It's eat, pray, love in the space of 10 seconds. He goes overseas. He finds himself. He comes back. It's yeah. It's a
somehow regrets the entirety of the affair.
Exactly.
And it's sad because I mean we did so well to really weather the storm. I think coming into this halftime, I can segue on from here to talk about like halftime thoughts. But I mean, it was almost good enough to go into the break goalless and to not conceded, and it was just that mistake that happened. We were pretty resolute for everything else, and I must say, Peacock Farrell did very well to do against that 1-1. It was a good reaction, and also it was an incredible reaction from Stewart to get in at that angle. To react from that angle and to pop it away from that, and we get to just add to the narrative that we get the sadness of seeing, Hutchinson slide into the net, not being able to really do anything.
Yeah.
Trying to do something, but somehow it looks worse,
Yes.
doing anything. I really hate seeing defenders slide into the net trying to cover things because it just looks so awkward and embarrassing. Defended well to a man apart from the goal. I thought defense did very well, very resolute. We were kind of, I think you made the note that we were kind of very much pinned back with Johnson on the left.
Yeah, I think Roberts is a real threat, and he seemed to be quite dedicated to staying out on that right-hand side. Presumably that was something that they did on purpose. It wasn't just a feel kind of thing. But it meant we didn't get anything really from Johnson in an attacking sense in that first half. He constantly had to stay back and help Hutch.
I felt there was a moment that I didn't really pick up on, but I think it was like there was a bit of complacency in the middle of the park. I mentioned prior going into this, I saw a thread from Peter Lohman, which I think was kind of saying, it wasn't as bad as people were kind of reacting, because I think we're all just incredibly disappointed. It's just so much so the fact that, hey, it's the first leg of the semi-finals. I've got to be honest, Rich. I mean, we finished above Sunderland. I don't know. I don't know what the answer is, but I don't feel like being at home for the second leg is that much of an advantage. I don't know.
I think it is. Well, we've got lots of time to talk about this, but I think it is generally because it means your job. So Sunderland's job is now quite tricky come Monday night.
I hope so.
No, but okay. But so they've had their home leg, which presume most teams are better at home than they are away. I know that as Wednesday, we've had many seasons where that's not the case. This season, we're very much better at home. So most so just orthodoxy. If the norms play out, you expect both teams to win their home leg if they're fairly evenly matched. And in the case of us and Sunderland, there's 1 point in it over the course of a season. So we're very similar teams. And actually, we beat them fairly heavily at Hillsborough. They beat us very heavily at the Stadium of Light. It kind of shows that we're similar as well. Like that shows
on a par. Yeah.
Yeah. So the expectation would be you win that second game. So then it becomes if you're home second, then it's okay, keep the score reasonable. If we can get a draw, that's great, but we'll expect to win at home. And from Sunderland's point of view, their job is, let's pile on as many goals as possible because our expectation is we'll lose the next leg. They've only got one. Yeah. So do they come into the game at Hillsborough saying, right, we want to go get another and then we'll sit back? Or do they sit back on a 1-goal lead against a team that scored hatfuls of goals at home? I don't know. I mean, we don't know what will happen, but there's always a bird in the hand being better than 2 in the bush. So they've got a bird in the hand as it stands. But I think we've got the easier task. Darren, Wednesday's job is just to go and win Monday night.
I don't know. It's a really difficult thing to think about. I think but it's really marked out from. This is the first instance of obviously Wednesday being in the playoffs. It could be the first of 2. It could be the first of 3. We're not sure yet. I was disappointed. I felt like the midfield just wasn't doing anything this game.
But that was, I think you've got to give credit where it's due. I think Sunderland got some things really right. So I'm looking at it on SofaScore, and they're saying that they've got their three up top as Stewart and Pritchard as a duo with Patrick Roberts in behind. That's not how it worked in reality. Roberts sat in the channel by Sam Hutchinson, worked that channel. Stewart was up front on his own, and then Pritchard was actually in the midfield. And I think both of their wing backs were pretty midfield based for that first half as well. I think they just choked us out. I just think there wasn't the room. We do quite often. We've run because we rely on our wingers for our wing backs to kind of. That's just a lot of our game plan is get it down the wings and put balls into the box. We don't ask them to play midfield. Really, they're not mucking in the midfield, so we do quite often run a deficit numbers wise in the middle.
Right. Yeah.
But they really made it pay. I think for the first hour of the game, they really made it pay, and we were trying to do what we did to MK Dons and put Bannon as a third striker.
Yeah, I noticed him up there. I noticed him up there on a few occasions.
Our distribution from the back wasn't good enough. We weren't stretching them with it. And I also just think they're so big. They're three centre-backs that they were just handily dealing with everything. Gregory wasn't getting any joy, let alone Bannon and Berahino. So I think it's a slight misstep from us. We just didn't. That wasn't going to work today. We should have packed our midfield and made ourselves harder to play through in that section of the pitch, I think. Rather than pushing Bannon up top and trying to stretch them, because we never did manage to stretch them. But second half, Bannon dropped deeper and was more part of the midfield. And I think we also made a point of always having one of our centre backs come into the middle. So I think Dean was doing a man marking job more often than not on Stewart, and then we were asking Story or Hutch to step into the middle. I think the most disappointing thing, we're kind of fast forwarding. We're talking like the end of the game because there's a second half to talk about, but obviously not much of substance happened in that second half. I think the disappointing thing looking at the match is the things that, if you ask me now, like, I think people have talked about, we've got a style of play now. We've got an identity under Darren Moore, which not very often been able to say under many managers. And if you ask me to describe what that identity was, how that style was built up, then I'd say it's the wing backs. So we try and work through our wing backs, try and work the work wide positions, and it's a lot of crossing and a lot of cutting back from those wide positions. But it's all about stretching teams, going down one flank, stretching you on the other flank, and we put our centre backs out of the wide centre backs out of the three get involved in the opposition's half of the pitch. I would say that's a key facet of when things are cooking, when things are working well, when this Wednesday team is playing as you want to see them. You see those centre backs in the opposition's half, either adding a body, picking up passes, keeping the ball moving, or doing a run into the box. We didn't see any of that in the first half. So I don't know whether we were overly cautious or whether they just got things right. I don't know. But it did start to turn around from sort of 65, 70 minutes on, I think. It was a very different game, which gives me some hope for the second leg. Do we want to? Should we cover the? Oh well, I don't want to. I'll give you right to reply on my.
Yeah, I mean, just the final thing is it felt. Actually, there's something else I'll come on to a time where I think I sent you a text at, I think, the 60-odd minute mark. I wondered about whether Hutch's boo-boo would feel like a pivotal moment. Like, I felt at that point, and it could be being, like, negative, but I wondered about whether now this is the straw that broke the camel's back, personally.
In what way?
What way? That this would be the moment which would lead to sorry, it was the water dam breaking. Everything goes.
Yeah.
Everything kind of gets conceded from there on in. Because I mean, we did overall. I think we did incredibly well to keep the score what it was, kind of to fast forward to the end. But anyway, I know we're jumping ahead of ourselves. I know it's this weird.
No, but they did rattle out. They rattled out they sometimes if you get a goal on half time, it's almost because people say, "Oh, it's great to get a goal before half time," but sometimes it means you don't get that spell of momentum afterwards. But they did carry that through. They came out and played like they'd just scored rather than like it had just been half time. We played like we just conceded rather than it had just been half time.
I mean, I guess like the thing that I will say is positive is like we've only kept it to 1-0, and I think it weirdly feels like a bit of a failing for Sunderland. I mean, we don't know what's going to happen. This could still be a decent goal towards that final aggregate. But yeah, I think by and large what you were saying, I still agree with the fact that the part of the narrative and the part of the idea of playing at home is we're going to fill our boots with goals against Wednesday, and they failed at that.
I thought Neil was fairly in the kind of post-match interviews. We're still doing a lot of post-match for half-time. I thought Stuart seemed happy, but he's a striker that had got a goal, so I think they're
it's another one to add to his.
If it was 1-1,
another goal to add to his collection of tallies. I mean, also I mean for the sake of any kind of mercenariness. I'm sure Ross Stewart will be fine if Sunderland don't go up, because I'm sure they could probably flog him on for a pretty penny.
Selfishness is a key facet of being a good striker. It's absolutely fine. I think you want them to think of themselves first and foremost. If they're a bit of a team player in addition to that, that's great. But yeah, I don't. It's to me, it's no insult to say that he was kind of personally pleased. But I thought Pritchard seemed gutted. I thought Pritchard seemed gutted for a team that just won, and I don't know whether that was because he personally had gone so close. He had two really good efforts in that spell. After half time, second minute, he rattled the crossbar with a really, really ripe curling shot. We were linked with him, weren't we, at some point? Because he got released by Huddersfield in the summer, or was it last summer? We have. I think Pritchard's been in our kind of I don't know, our vicinity, rumour wise.
Probably, but he's been a highly rated player for quite a while, though, hasn't he? I think he's, he's had that. Initially, he was at Spurs, and then like lots of loans. He was at Norwich.
He's been a highly rated player, but I don't think he's quite had the career that maybe he was expected to early on.
Yeah, no, that's definitely the case.
Well, he's 29. There you go. So supposedly he moved for about £10 million from Tottenham to Norwich. He's 12.5 to Huddersfield, and then he went to Sunderland on a free 3 years later. So I don't know whether that's injuries, but that's quite a drop off. Being a 12.5 million player to being let go on a free. But
it seems to be, I don't know, from what I feel like I've seen of him, he's a great looking player, and I think Sunderland have done really well. To capitalise on that situation. Second half, pithy comment. I'm going to get us kickstarted on some real pith here, Rich. Some of the direction used on this feed that I'm getting is just bizarre. There seemed to be a cut to Sunderland fans milling their way to the toilet or something.
All right.
For a good minute. I'm like, I don't know why. Maybe we didn't get that. I didn't. We had like an anonymous chap doing the thing. Maybe if I had Sky, they'd be like, and they're the most attended toilet dwellers in the EFL. Look at this tremendous swell to the bogs.
The highest volume of piss produced in a playoff game in their history.
I heard a lot of comments people on Twitter saying that Sky were kind of wanking themselves silly over Sunderland.
Oh, yeah. They really were. They were.
I noticed before the Pritchard chance, I said, ho hum start here. I also noted that Alex Neil has a shiny head. Thank you for joining me for some of the brilliant commentary and observations made in this game. But there we go. Yeah, hit the bar on the 31st minute, I thought it was. That was a really decent hit.
It was.
Following the play from there, Luongo gives away a seriously needless foul. I mean, like, I think we missed out on we didn't get the protection on the 50-50s, but still Wednesday still making quite a lot of fouls, Yeah,
lots of silly fouls. Also needless, just needless like dithering at times, and in particular, well, my next note's 55th minute with Berahino just kind of like aimlessly kind of dawdling his way to giving them a chance. I don't know what he was hoping to achieve. I did feel sorry for Berahino, but I also thought this was almost pre-Christmas. Why Berahino? This was we were at that sort of level. I don't know whether he was just overawed by the occasion or they were just too big and strong for him. I don't know what it was, but
yeah. Well, I said in the build to that, Berahino seemingly gets ragged around and gets nothing. That was my note. Then 50th minute, Pritchard. He artfully curled one just over, but Peacock Farrell touched it over for a corner.
Yeah.
It was a nice hit.
Another good effort.
And the resulting corner comes up with a great chance for Sunderland. Bart knocks it back, and I don't know who carelessly headed it over, but that was a real sitter to miss.
From the middle of the goal, wasn't it, as well?
Yeah.
I couldn't work out who it was.
Again, it's all these Sunderland players all looking the same.
Well, they're all kind of big and meaty at the back, little nippy, for want of a better word, little nippy bastards in the middle, and then another big, and then a lanky boy up top. That's
lanky
kind
bastard. Big bastard at the back, nippy bastards in the middle. How about bastard up front? Team of bastards.
The lovely young gentleman in call.
Welcome to Different Gravy. We've got a celebrity guest on the show, Sarah Milliken. Sarah, how did
Oh, I'm a bit fat. Oh, isn't that funny?
That was, for their perspective, that was a real sitter. I mean, I'm glad to see they just spurned that chance quite heavily. I mean, the funny thing is, Peacock Farrell had a good game this game. He did well, but Sunderland were very, very, very dominant, and we weathered the storm from them. But they didn't really worry us in goal, apart from Stewart's goal. Honestly,
exactly. I think that's the thing. I think that's what started to jar. I'd be interested to hear from a neutral because, Wednesday fans moaning about Sky just absolutely kind of really getting themselves all juiced up over Sunderland. Hinchcliffe was, I don't know whether I struggle with him because obviously he's got a history as Wednesday, but I don't think many Wednesday fans look back on Andy Hinchcliffe very fondly.
No, he was a man who,
big.
I think we've got a treatment table named after him, right?
Exactly, yeah. Oh, nice big contract. It's really hurting my ankle though, having that wedge of cash in my pocket.
The added weight of carrying all this cash in your back pocket. You need to distribute it across two back pockets to kind of lean out. That's why one of his ankles was beleaguered.
So I think he's kind of put there as he's a bit Wednesday.
Yeah.
I don't think there's much affection either way, really. No. And he was really.
He's nowhere. In terms of the local colour commentary, I mean, they're going to radio now, but he's nowhere near the end of that Keith Edwards spectrum, is he? Really?
No, exactly. No, he's not doing that job at all. And neither should he, to be fair. Be neutral. It's ridiculous what happens on Radio Sheffield. It's
a kind of colourful characteristic given to local radio.
Yeah.
It's a weird kind of given. Considering I think it's just because the only people listening are going to be local fans, I guess,
But it's also, I think it's the overriding thing is Sky decide the narrative.
Yes.
And if the game actually bears out that predetermined storyline, they love it and they kind of like lean into it. And obviously the narrative was, oh, Sunderland are good, and then they did play well, so it really fed into it. But I mean, some of the things that he was saying, Hinchcliffe, he was about 10 minutes late in figuring out that showed a stat at one point that's like 10 minutes, last 10 minutes possession, and Wednesday had like 75% of it, and he was still like going, Wednesday have got to be, oh, they're getting absolutely run over here, and you're like, have you been, I know we were, like, that was 10 minutes ago, Andy.
Your brain's on delay.
Your boys have just sat back and watched us play now for the last 10, 15 minutes. You know, that like it's all Wednesday now. Have you not noticed that? Or is the voice in your ear going, just talk about how lovely Sunderland are and how they look like they might smell nice if you got close to them? Do you think Luke O'Neill has nice tasting sweat? Just suggest it. Suggest it to the commentator. But then no, they were having a spell. Berahino went off quite quickly after that dispossession that led to a chance. I don't know. I think we've just seen enough. It was not Saido's night, and he was taken off for Windass.
Our streaky blonde Twitter bothering striker is on.
Yeah,
I'm not a fan of the blonde.
He's re-blonding. He's getting more youthful.
I hope
as
so.
he gets older. Maybe one of the treatments, if you have like injuries now, one of the treatments is like getting stem cells injected. Maybe that's what's happened. We've done that with his hamstring, and actually he's growing hair like he's a newborn again. It's there's just wonderful, there's incredible things happening to his body. It's like Cocoon, but he started off younger. I say that having never seen Cocoon. 58 minutes. Roberts is just doing whatever he likes. He looks so strong and quick against a ponderous Johnson. This time his goal-bound effort is well blocked by Hutchinson. I think that was probably about as good of a chance as Pritchard's, and that's probably about as good of a chance as they had in that spell. Any thoughts?
Which point is this again? Sorry, where were you?
That's Roberts when he sort of barged through Johnson and cut inside and just like it was just like when he was going to release his shot, but Hutch got in and blocked really well.
Yeah, and then the corner. Yeah, that was a good chance. 62nd minute, you'll make Luke O'Neill enters the book.
About 60
finally
too late.
60 minutes too late. Finally win a free kick. Bannon sends it long, or banana, as my notes say. And Dean gets a soft nod straight back at the keeper. 65th minute, I texted you to say I'd take a 0-1 result. Yeah,
I agreed.
That
was sort of the turning point then, wasn't it? Because I think we brought Windass in and Bannon dropped back further. And I think we started to, whether it was probably a bit of both, them easing off. I thought
there's a bit of weird late match energy, things kind of opening up through tiredness.
Yeah, well, I think they'd had that adrenaline surge. That can happen with a big crowd. It can work both ways. It was one of the things I was worried about last game of the season, was if we'd got a goal really early doors, there's that huge burst of excitement, and then you could end up like sagging around the hour mark because it's just too much. But luckily we avoided that by immediately giving them a goal and having to chase the lead. Stupid old Sunderland didn't let us score really early on, so they were getting tired around the hour mark. Didn't think of that, did you, Alex, with your shiny pate? So yeah, I put 70th minute or so, a relative spell of pressure for Wednesday as we muster 2 corners in a row. The second corner is terrible as Windass blasts it over everyone and straight out of play.
Yeah.
76th minute, a nice passage of play from Wednesday, working the ball down the right, switching it to the left, and then back again to Palmer, giving him a free header in the box that he can't quite direct back to Gregory in the middle. And then just a minute later, Palmer had another sort of nearly moment.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah.
Yeah, reminding us all how he earned the mantle roving goal threat. I can't quite remember if this is exactly the same move or whether there was a break in the move, because I do remember Hutch getting involved at some point. But it just was that the bit where did Johnson cross into sorry pardon me, did he cross into Palmer immediately after just sort of rolling his foot over the ball and just kind of wandering up their flank? Because there was a point where he just seemed to get a bit, he's like, well, I'll just give this a go, and just kind of just went walking pace, kind of Chris Waddle-esque, just walked up the wing, hoping to make people fall over by juking his shoulders around and swinging and like maybe showing him some hips. But I can't remember if he crossed immediately after that for Palmer or whether that kind of fell apart and then Hutch played him through for the cross. But it was really lovely to see Johnson just kind of go, well, I'm just going to take this dog for a walk and see what happens. He put the ball in, and I think you've got to give credit where it's due. I think the left wing back did a really nice job of tracking Palmer all the way back, and he made it very difficult for him. But he did manage to make a little bit of a scramble, Palmer in the middle there for them. One of those moments when we look back, do we think in the kind of form he's been in, do we think Hunt would have done better with either of those? Do we think Mendes-Lang would have done better with either of those?
That's a really interesting thing. Hunt spent a lot of time being fantastic and being incredible, but then being not so good at kind of arriving in that situation. And I think you've made the comment that, Moore said that's something that we've been working on. Is one wing back goes and the other wing back's covered to kind of mop up at the back stick in case it's too quick for any of the strikers to be there.
Yeah.
So it's a really interesting thing. But I mean, to look at this game, I mean, Palmer was probably one of our best players.
He was. I think that's the tricky thing, isn't it? Because it's the one bit of the team sheet that you maybe immediately question going into the match. But he's probably our best player out of the game, or very close to it.
I'd say so. I was surprised we didn't see any of Hunt, or we didn't even see Mendes-Lang kind of brought on.
No.
For that position. Speaking of subs, I guess the next point is Sunderland made a double sub. Mitete on for Pritchard and Embleton on for Roberts. So they clearly seem to want to try and kind of get a handle on things. It, felt like they were kind of starting to kind of miss out on the game here.
Yeah, I think things had swung. The momentum had swung a fair amount in the other direction, hadn't it? There was some
84th minute
with their sub.
Oh, I know they seem to wind you up endlessly, Rich. So please go into detail.
Well, no, but it just seemed to be some. Why wound me up endlessly? He never shuts up about. Have you met Rich? Yeah, the guy with the Sunderland substitutions. Yeah.
Sunderland, as I call them, Subderland. Subpar Sunderland. Subderland.
But they seem to be some. I don't know whether this is just nouveau. This is whoever goes through, there will be the narrative for Sky will be the dirty tricksters of Wickham. Well, I'm assuming Wickham win the other one now that they've got a 2-goal lead. But anyway, the dirty tricksters of Wigan versus the footballers of the other team, the stylish boys. But I don't know whether this is just nouveau time wasting, that you kind of put in your substitution and then pretend that you've put the wrong number up, change it round. Oh, we want it to be this. So there's some back and forth because they originally took off. Clark came off at that point. He walked off. His number was put up. He walked off, and then they sort of there's a lot of back and forth, bits of paper being shaken, harsh words that's being said, and so then Clark didn't go off. Somebody else went off instead. But this I think the thing that annoyed me was, so I can kind of see, okay, there's a bit of confusion. That anybody can make a mistake, anybody can get confused, things can happen. It's a loud stadium, blah, blah, blah. what was annoying was they made another substitution in the 90th minute and seemed to make a mistake again and have the same discussion. And it got quite heated with the fourth official, the linesman and their coaching staff, and the referee got involved as well. So it's like one time is human error. The second time is like, what sort of game are you playing here where you kind of make a sub and then you go, oh, no, not that sub. Oh, whoopsie. Then it becomes like, is this just another way to waste time? Is this to burn another 30 seconds, another minute? Anyway, there we go. That's my little rant about the subs.
Just a comment here, Rich. 84th minute. Wednesday have a spell by the left byline where I don't know why we don't just get a cross in.
Yeah.
We farted around with it a lot on the left byline to try and look for that kind of perfect thing, and like just get it in the box at this point.
Yeah, we don't. That's another thing that we don't know what's going to happen second leg. So that's, we can't second guess things. But continuing to put balls into the box when only really Gregory is challenging for them. Berahino, when he's there, is in the box but doesn't really challenge. Windass, when he's on, does not stand in the box. So I don't know how sensible it was to continue doing that without bringing Patterson on to add another aerial threat. Because I just felt like they dealt with our crosses pretty easily. I mean, the ones that we're talking about of crosses that went long probably missed their target in Gregory and maybe ended up with the fullback coming in late. But yeah, I do share your frustration. If the game is to get the ball into the box, let's get the ball into the box, and that was clearly the game plan. But overall, I don't know how. It felt like a bit of a hiding to nothing to continue to pump the ball into the box.
Fair enough.
Do you want to take the? Well, my next note's the 89th minute.
Okay, 86 minutes. Sunderland get another corner. Nothing comes out of it again, thankfully. 87th minute. Byers off for FDB. I said it seemed quite late to make that change, to be honest. Moore is captured losing his shit. There seemed to be a lot of theatrics around the technical area. Both coaching teams seem to be voicing concerns very vociferously to the fourth official.
I think we were very annoyed about what shenanigans went on with that first sub, and it continued. It rolled on. Kind of set the bar here. That's where it went from then on. Yeah, I wonder about Deli Bashir. I think there's a question. We'll cover it at the end of the game. How fit was Bannon? Should Bannon have started?
Interesting. Yeah.
But yeah, it was a bit of a shame to see Deli Bashir on so late because he did look bright, and I know we're a broken record. I'm a broken record. It just looked a bit different to what we've got. We don't have anybody that drives. What he likes to do is square people up and drive into the space behind them. And then it's like, well, you're going to foul me? Are you going to tackle me? I know he did get tackled. What
he ran into someone as soon as he came on, pretty much.
Yeah.
It was like first play of the game.
But we've seen him so many times go into that type of exchange and emerge on the other side with the ball and then havoc ensues.
Or get a free kick. Yeah.
Or get a free kick. And yeah, maybe look when he came on, I sort of thought, as you say, it's a bit late in the day, and it would have been nice to maybe have seen him a little bit sooner, probably. I
mean, from that they countered and comes back to Peacock Farrell coming out of his box. Looks and feels a little bit routine. Peacock Farrell had a very good game. Does the biggest clanger I think I've seen from him.
I've written a bit of this.
Well, he does an awful headed pass behind Hutch, which was woeful. Luckily, Stewart strikes wide. Fuck me, Wednesday is what I've said. Anyway, Rich, what did you say about this?
Well, I've got Dumb and Dumber Part 2 is a pale imitation of the first film, and this is a pale imitation of the first half's effort to mess things up. A big long clearance for Sunderland. It seems easy enough. 3 centre backs and Bailey Peacock Farrell up against Stewart. 9 times out of 10, light work for the defence. but Bailey Peacock Farrell has other ideas. Channeling and paraphrasing his inner Lloyd Christmas, he bowls in saying, "So you're saying there's a chance to cock things up?"
Excellent.
He tries to delicately head it to Hutch, who, have we mentioned before, doesn't turn so good. So he loses out to Stewart again. Stewart squares up and unleashes a shot that just misses at the far post. An entirely unnecessary fright right at the end. And if they'd come away with the 2-0 lead in the tie because of that, we would have, it would have been so grossly unfair, but also so annoyingly self-inflicted, all of it.
Yeah.
It's really bad. It just should have been so easy. One of the Bailey Peacock Farrell goes back in his area. One of the defenders nods it back to him. He can catch the ball. I don't know if you know this, that the keeper can catch the ball in his box. It's one of the reasons they stay there. What did you make it? It wasn't particularly exciting, but Windass hit the bar in a similar kind of fashion to one of the ones they had in the first half that needed tipped over by the three young boys in a trench coat.
I don't remember if that happened so much as I actually made a note of it. I'm going to be honest. I made a note just after that. A lot of RG and indeed Bargy surrounding subs and managerial protestations. 90+3, ref making very paltry points. This ref loves himself a bit too much.
He did. He was a fond of himself. Onanistic referee. and then that's that really, isn't it?
That's all she wrote. Yeah.
So we've sort of done full-time thoughts, but full-time thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, a disappointing performance in a way. It felt like, to me, it felt like an end-to-end game that didn't have the end result from Wednesday. Like we saw plenty of, if there was a bit more of Wednesday on the other end, then I think I'd be feeling a lot better about things.
Yeah.
Saying that though, I mean, to Sunderland, a very, very finely tuned machine, very, very good side for this league. And I mean, I think we knew every team that we'd be up against would be a very decent contender. It's a very strong playoff picture. It doesn't always happen.
No, it doesn't.
That it's always the way like this. You know, sometimes teams sneak in, and sometimes team are there because sometimes it's difficult. And even if Plymouth were one of these teams, it would have been still pretty strong. Yeah. Or even Oxford United, even to give a stretch as well. So they did very well. They're a very good side. And, you know, I know they're a one-club town or city.
Yes.
Is Sunderland a city? Does it have a cathedral? I don't know. I can't remember from Sunderland till I die. It's a city. You know, and I mean, I don't mean this purely as a protestation. That is a factor. If we had that in Sheffield and it's purely Wednesday without those petulant United scabs, those hardwood scabs that never heal, that are Sheffield United fans, then maybe things would be different, kind of. But still, saying that it is a very kind of a fan base, a very passionate area, and bringing 43,000 is insane for a playoff semi. So they did really make it a cauldron. They seem to have a big identity there seemed to be a very strong identity presented through, and I know it's a little bit like, what was it? I saw like a billboard and it's got like the eyes of a black cat, you know, in the dark and stuff like this. And the nature of it seems, you know, we will support you to the end or something. There's something very, I don't like that stuff. It's very masturbatory, but like, it felt actually genuinely like it did genuinely feel a little bit intimidating. I'm going to be honest. Yeah. So they did a really good job of doing that. They probably did a very bad job of having their finishing boots on, which I think I'm very grateful for. Yeah. I think we did very well to keep it to just 1-0, and it's just really just a boo-boo from Hutch. Really, that's the difference. So I mean, that's something. You know, I was disappointed there wasn't a bit more in midfield. Like we said, Gregory and Berahino were just completely out of it this game, thanks to thanks to the monsters they have at the back, the big bastards they have at the back.
Yes.
So it's not. It's kind of weirdly disappointing. I think also it's disappointing just following the fact that we went there. It was so heartbreaking to have the nature of the game we had where we went to Sunderland following a big spell where a lot of fans missed a lot of football, including me.
Yeah.
I have to kind of laugh a little bit sometimes at some of the sadness and things that have happened in, bits of my kind of life within this pandemic.
Yeah.
I lost my mum in May 2020. I watched her funeral online. And then I come back and I really want to see Wednesday. I haven't seen them in 3 years. I haven't been back to Sheffield in 3 years, and I didn't get to see them because they had COVID and then I got COVID as well. So to have that big break and then be like, yes, a game of football, and then to go to Sunderland and get absolutely just have the spines ripped out of us. Really, it was like we were gutted like a fish, basically, up at Sunderland. So to go and then counter that and think we want to have this narrative be a little bit different, we want to go making a disappointing that there was still no bothering of of Patterson. We didn't get to unfurl the 7-year-olds, the many 7-year-olds on top of each other.
Yeah.
We didn't get to really poke at Patterson's camouflage there. So it was disappointing.
The one in the middle is really ticklish.
Oh, well, we'll never know, eh? We'll never know. Lee Gregory can't get there in the middle of in a corner and just give a little coochie coo in the midriff. We'll never find out. But I mean, it's still alive. It's still there for the second leg.
Yeah.
I'm not feeling good about the second leg, I must admit.
Yeah. I'm pretty hopeful. I mean, I do say this as someone that thought there was a reasonable chance we might go and win both legs. I don't know why I thought that really, but that's what my kind of gut feeling in the week was or has been. Time makes mockeries of all of us, so I've got faith in this team. I've got faith in this team at Hillsborough anyway.
At Goldsborough, I think.
At Goldsborough. I mean, that's what they call it. What you do? What you got? You've got
a 6, more like scored 6. I think you'll find.
What are you doing heading up there with your pickaxe? There's goals in them there hills.
Exactly.
But I think you said at the kind of the hour mark, I'd take 1-0. I think probably on balance at the start of the match, if you said, Joe, what, fast forward, you don't have to have any of the emotion, but you go into the second leg, they're 1 goal up, but you get to take them to Hillsborough. I probably would have accepted that at the beginning of the match as well. On the balance of the game, obviously you'd take it because they had the run of it for the rest, for pretty much an hour solid. But even then, it didn't amount to a huge. Yes, they hit the bar. They didn't. It wasn't like Bailey Peacock Farrell was having to play like the best game he's ever played for us. We've seen virtuoso performances from Bailey. This didn't need to be one of them. So I don't know. I'm as I say, yeah, I'm fairly hopeful going into that next game. And no 2 games are exactly alike. But I think there's things that we can tweak to make ourselves play better than we did in this game, even if it looks very similar. I think maybe you go to Patterson earlier, maybe you go to Windass earlier. Yeah, we'll also Hunt or Nathaniel Mendes-Lang will be the right wing back, and they are both far better attacking threats. I love Liam Palmer, but of the 3, he's the best defender and the worst attacker. And Hunt's probably the Goldilocks in both of those. He's probably the middle of the attacking and the middle of the defending. My preference would be hopefully that we see Hunt that right wing back position. I'm not convinced Bannon was 100% fit.
No.
Looked to gamble, and it looked a gamble that didn't particularly work out. I wonder if we had the other two Holding and Deli Bashiru starting as the kind of one up top, or Patterson up top, whether that would have worked better really in retrospect. And you won't come across a bigger Bannon fan than me, but I just thought, yeah, he didn't have his greatest game. But presumably he'll be another 2-3 days fitter and more able to produce his best. So I'm relatively hopeful. I know that it's the hope that kills you, and I have been a Wednesday fan for many a year, so I do know the hubris, the the ridiculousness of my words. But I'm sticking my neck out there, and I expect us to come through the next leg with a positive outcome. Do we want to pick? I mean, it's obvious if we're picking a villain.
Yeah, it's definitely Hutchinson.
And then maybe an honourable mention for Palmer.
Yeah, pretty much.
There we go. That
was easy. We both hit our staples button. Proclaim it to be easy.
Yeah, is that us?
Probably. Yeah, I guess so. And we'll reconvene for second leg.
So we don't know exactly what's going to happen with the next episode, but it will be either at the very latest, it will be in a week's time, and at the earliest, it might be in a couple of days' time. But we'll see.
A wee little bonus tickle for your midweek.
I think, to be honest, we can be honest with people, can't we, Luke? We've
oh yes, we formulated a strategy.
We've shared many an hour with folks these last few years. 50,000 downloads. We've not mentioned that on the podcast. And every download a cherished friend. Basically, we're really worried if we do get beat that we will just be so gutted we don't want to talk about it, and maybe we'll leave it a week. And if we win, then we'll probably record sooner, and you'll have something in your feed a bit sooner. But we might be so incensed by a loss that we record sooner as well. So, yeah, as I say, either way, we'll talk about that second game in great detail. It just will be. It might be in a bit, or it might be in a bit longer. There you go. You're just going to have to live with that. I'm sorry, the uncertainty. Not many things in this life are certain, but goals at Hillsborough.
Well, here's hoping we get some goals at Hillsborough in the second leg, and more for Wednesday than for Sunderland.
Yes. Okay. Well, it's a cheerio from me. Look after yourselves, folks. Try to avoid the vid. It's not fun. And each and every one of us, I would like to also wish you a cheerio, good week, and things like that, because we are young. Anthony Patterson in goal for the Sunderland.
Thank you, Rich, and thank you, Sarah, and thank you everyone who's listening at home, and hope you all have a good week. See you, everyone.